Welcome to the Daily Edge. Today we have Danny Arriola with us, and he is going to talk about sales, growing up in a sales family, entrepreneurship, discipline, consistency, all the things we love to talk about. Let's find our edge. Let's find our edge. That starts with our affirmation. My edge is that I control the controllable. There are only two things that are within my control: what I choose to focus on and what I choose to do. And the more disciplined I am with those, the better the results. Danny, welcome to the show.
Great to be on the show, and I love that you use control the controllable because that's one of our mantras at Inktel.
Is it?
Yeah, we say it all the time. Just control the controllables. When the client's complaining about this or they missed the schedule, whatever, take a deep breath, control the controllables, and it ends up taking care of itself.
It's as a college football coach, where I was for a long time, it's really hard.
Yeah.
Because you're not in control of basically anything.
Yeah.
You call the play and that's it. Right? So like you would love the quarterback to do the read exactly the way he should do the read, and you'd love the receiver to run it exactly the way, but you're not in control over that. And so like it is the ultimate profession of mental discipline to just moving on to the next play and doing what you can. Give us your backdrop. Tell people about where you come from, who you are, and how you got here.
Yeah, I mean, so look, this is a podcast I know that's focused on entrepreneurship and sales, and so that's really sort of in my DNA. So, in summary, I come from a family of entrepreneurs. Both my grandfathers were entrepreneur, my father was an entrepreneur, and like a lot of people who grow up in Miami, we were immigrants, right? Came over from Cuba. You know the story, had to leave everything behind. And when Miami was a very different place in the 60s, right?
So there wasn't Magic City or Magic City.
So, so there wasn't, call it big companies employing lots of people. You had to make your way. And a big part of that was the entrepreneurial spirit. And so in that, I grew up with, you're always going to own a business or you're going to start it on your own. Much later in life, when I would hear kids going, my dad worked at GE for 35 years and retired. You got a pension. Like that was super foreign to me. Right. So, in summary, my father, you're a college coach, right? And the way I always consider myself is you probably always liked recruiting coaches' sons, right? And why? Because they know the nuances.
Yeah.
They know the
Understand it out. Which why Joe Burrow, part of why Joe Burrow is as successful as that he grew up with a college coach as your dad.
Right.
1,000%.
So for me, I had my formal education. The second part of that education, which I think is it's the ongoing education. If you're not educating yourself, reading, listening to podcasts, going to seminars and stuff like that, that's on you because we're in the greatest age ever of education, including listening to this podcast. But the third component of that is, just observing and listening to my dad growing up. And you're not going to find that kind of stuff in a case study. How do you treat a client? How do you develop a sales plan? How do you stay calm under pressure? All that kind of stuff. And so over the course of many years as a young boy, I always listened or asked questions and stuff like that. It wasn't like he sat me down one day.
Right.
What was interesting is my dad is a natural salesperson. So I viewed the world of business through sales. Now, had he been an accountant, I may have been more into the numbers.
Sure.
But that's not the case. And he always admired, always built great sales teams, and to sell was cool. And what's funny is you're a little younger than me, but why at universities, major universities around the globe, don't they have a sales major? Right? It was always the marketing guy who had a personality and he got into sales, right? The president of the frat.
And what's interesting is that they've started some sales programs, right, more recently. But in my opinion, they're awful.
They're awful because they're taught by the professors who hate sales.
So they're like so focused on very product and price and like the expertise and qualifying questions, and I'm like, that's not sales.
That's not sales. That's not 5% of sales.
You guys have an entire major based on a subject, and it's all wrong.
It's all wrong because those people have never sold anything, right? And sales, as much as it is the blocking and tackling of some of the plans that you put together, it's very psychological, right?
Mhm.
You're going to get your face slammed, the door slammed in your face 100 times. And so you've got to have that resiliency in you to overcome it, game plan, brush those things away, not harbor on some of those feelings and move ahead.
Well, so we talked about controlling the controllable.
Correct.
And in sales, you are only in control of one thing, which is your action. You have no, like, if you just like check the boxes on the things that have to be true in order for you to sell somebody something, they have to like you.
Yeah.
Right. There's got to be a like and a trust there to start. So you have no control over whether or not that actually happens with the person, because that has to be reciprocated. Then they have to have the problem that you solve within your business.
Right.
You can't even control that they have the problem.
Correct.
Then if they have the problem, you actually have to be able to solve it the way they want you to solve it.
Correct.
Then you got to be able to do it inside of the price frame that they want to pay for it.
Right.
You're not in control over any of that.
Of any of it.
Like, so like, it is the most, aside from like being a football coach where you don't control any of what a player does on the field, you don't control any of it. So like, you have to be so mentally strong and disciplined to show up to your behaviors and what you need to do to be successful every day. I got to ask you this though. Growing up as an entrepreneur's kid,
Yeah.
growing up as a sales guy's kid,
Yeah.
did it make you unemployable for other organizations?
But potentially, I don't know that. I'm definitely a team player, and I have to respect who I'm working with. I'm not going to shortcut it. If the guy's a dick, I won't put up with it. So the older I get, I'm not employable. But the philosophy of sales, like I have friends who literally have great little businesses, and they still don't even have a sales guy. I'm like, how do you not have a salesperson?
Right.
That just blows my mind. You have somebody in marketing, you have a CFO, whatever,
Right.
but you don't have a marketing. I go back to the university level that they don't train and teach this. I've taken executive programs at all the top schools, and what am I like to rib them a little bit? I always go, hey, we're studying finance and we're studying accounting and marketing. When do we study sales? The Dorsey professors. I'm like, yeah, this is why you're in the classroom and not out there grinding. But yeah, I think at this point I'd be probably not the greatest employee.
And so then, like, you hit on something I think is really huge. It's part of the reason that I'm involved with Junior Achievement. I feel privileged to have grown up with a dad that was an entrepreneur, because I think he opened up those pathways in my brain that I could build it for myself. I didn't have to go rely on an organization to give me opportunity. I could do it myself. That didn't necessarily serve me very well as a football coach, because they were looking for a lot of yes men. And they didn't want I to ask questions.
Yeah, right.
They didn't want guys who challenged the status quo. They didn't want that, which for me like came naturally. But I was so grateful for that. Do you feel that you had a different brain? You looked at things differently than maybe some of the people who had parents that were at GE for 35 years?
So 100%. So anytime I go into a situation, I'm also trying to connect the dots. That's just the way that my brain works.
Right.
Okay, you've told me this is like, we've known each other for an hour.
Yeah.
I've already thought of 3 things that as a follow-up to this, I'm going to connect you with or whatever, because reciprocity, man. And the way I take is the long view. I'm going to be in business a long time. We may never do business, okay? But we may do business, and it may be in 15 years. I don't know.
Yeah.
Or there's other things that bring a lot of value that aren't just dollars and cents. I may call you one day and go, hey, one day you used to work with Johnny over there. Tell me about him. And I'm about to hire Johnny, and you go, don't hire Johnny. He's had a gambling problem.
Yeah.
And by the way, that has helped me a ton.
All right.
I literally 2 weeks ago, we really liked the candidate, and randomly he mentioned that I knew somebody. I called up that somebody, goes, look, great guy, but he's a disaster. And I didn't hire him. Now, had I not made that connection 15 years before, that would have never happened, and I would have hired that guy, and it would have been a disaster. And there's a lot of value in that.
And like, that can start at any time, right?
Right.
Like, I have my brother's friends who are younger than me reaching out to me or my dad, right? Because they're in a sales role now and they're looking to grow. And if they're willing to do it the right way, when they tell me what they do, I'm like, oh, you do augmented staffing? I know somebody who has a call center.
Right.
I'm happy to connect you to them.
Yeah.
As long as I trust the fact that you're going to show up and do it the right way.
You can't lay in.
Because if you show up and sell him,
Correct.
you're done. I'm never going to make another introduction for you ever.
Yeah, I will make introductions for folks who I think are screw-ups.
Right.
Right? Might be a great guy, but you're going to be late to the meeting.
Right.
And you're teaching that in school. Oh, of course not. They're not teaching any of them. It's a waste of time. Listen, I tell people, recent grads, if they came to see me, oh, what do I do with my career? I go, look, whether you get into healthcare or marketing, whatever, that's up to you. But number one, go to a place that you're in the office. No work from home, especially when you're young. As you get older, that's a different thing, and you have some life changes. But I think just being around senior managers and observing what they're doing right and wrong is super, super valuable. The second is learn how to sell some. Yeah. So you might be the CFO of the company, but you're going to have to sell your ideas. And the third thing, which is I don't want to hear anybody under the age of 40 talk about, is work-life balance. Okay? Head down, get to work. When you're 40, pick up, and then we'll talk. Yeah. Right? But you got to put in the grind. You got to put in the hours. You got to put in that 10,000 hours of just how do I become a really good executive.
It's mind-blowing to me that like that is something that people in their 20s are like fighting against.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you're asking me to be in the office 5 days a week and you want me to work an 8-hour day? Like, what be an 8-hour day, a 12-hour day, a 16-hour day? Like, not 8 hours, 8 hours, it gets you McDonald's money. You know what I mean? Like, that's insane. And I didn't question it ever because I watched my dad do it. I mean, like, I knew what it took. Yeah. So I had no problem. Like, yeah, I'm in. And I didn't realize that was such a competitive advantage for me because I was just out willing to work for everybody else. So you talk about reciprocity. You talk about playing the long game. You've been in business a long time. What's some of the structure that you've developed and put into place as you've become more seasoned and that like people could learn from and maybe, you know, shorten the curve for them a little?
Yeah. So the one that everybody says, but we'll go back to football, right?
Yeah.
You can't have a great football team without great talent, right? So as the senior leader, you have to think of yourself as the general manager of a football team.
Yep.
The draft, the free agencies, all that kind of stuff, right? So that's the way that we look at it. Every salaried employee, so we're in the call center business, so we have a lot of hourly employees. We also have, you know, management. Every salary employee is interviewed by my brother or I, right? For the final. We had the final. They go, man, is that the best use of your time? I said, absolutely, yes. Garbage in, garbage out, right? So we're the final. Number two is be very protective of your culture. So how you know every company has a culture, and within your company, even departments have their own subculture. Be very protective. And if you have a cancer in that company, in that culture, you have to get it cut out immediately because it is super, super contagious. Just like being optimistic and positive and all this stuff is contagious, you got to take care of your locker room guys. You know who they are. The guys in the locker room that when you're not around, they pull that guy aside and go, hey, this is the way that we do stuff here. I have a lot of those guys. I cherish them. They're super important. Again, sometimes their numbers don't come up in the dollars and cents, but I know what they do behind the scenes. And what they do is protect the culture. So those are a handful of things that I think people overlook that are more on the soft skill sides. And then you have to have your playbooks, right? So you might think customer service is very different than me, but you may shop at Walmart and I shop at, Gucci. Well, okay, that looks really different, right?
Yep.
So understanding what those playbooks like, I'm going to teach you our way. It can be the Walmart way. It could be the Gucci. It doesn't matter. But we have to get on the same page and understand that. And the only way to do that is to have systems in place, playbooks. This is the way that we do things here.
So interesting because I was having a conversation about playbooks, and I think people get hung up on the what of a playbook, right? It's what we're gonna do, and I'm like, no. It's how. It's how we do. Not what.
That's your call,
right? Like help me in a football playbook. If you just say, well, we're gonna run power, or we're gonna run zone, or we're gonna throw a slant, that doesn't tell anybody anything.
Correct.
You got to tell them how many steps, what the angles are. You got to tell them what the verbiage is. Like, you got to tell people how to do things. So you hit on talent, you hit on culture, you hit on playbooks. You said those are the 3 foundational elements that you got to be able to master when it comes to culture. What is your culture and how did you develop it?
We have high standards, okay, and we don't deviate from that. So I'm really clear with everybody. Say, look, these are my standards. I am not going to lower them for you. We will adjust them if you've hit a bad spot in your life and stuff.
Sure.
Like that. So having high standard for your customers, for you, the way that we do things, we're not going to take shortcuts, whatever. And you have to be very guarded about that.
Yeah.
We have people who have been with our company for many, many years. I love them to pieces. People I've been in their wedding parties and stuff like that. But I'm really clear. We are not a family. We are a high performance team. Okay. And just like a high performance team, whether you're on, the Chiefs, I wish I could say the Dolphins.
Yeah, Chiefs.
Or the playoffs and Super Bowls and stuff like that.
At least we don't have to say the Patriots anymore.
At least we don't have to say the Patriots. So, the Tom Brady, Belichick Patriots or the Chiefs or whatever. You have to bring it every day. And if you are dragging ass, I am a firm believer that A players want to play with A players and B players don't want to be with A players. And so you have to, as the senior leader, you have to be the one, the GM, to make those decisions. And some are tough because you've got great people that come, they work hard, but they just don't have it in them. Right? They just can't do it. They can't take it to the next level. You'll either find them a new home in the company or you just have to move on.
Yeah. So, and I want to talk about that for a minute because in football, it's relatively easy because everything is videoed, right? I get to see almost everything on the field. Now, the locker room stuff and the stuff outside, you got to get a feel and you got to rely on your leaders and you got to pay attention to what's going on. But you get to see a lot. In business, it's harder. Creating, I call it visibility to work.
Yeah.
Right? Creating that visibility to work to ensure that your standards are met and that things are done the way they're supposed to is hard. How do you do that? Are you actually watching? Are you there?
Yeah.
Everybody's got to like.
So I got the goals. So we have yearly goals, and then we break it down to quarterly goals, right? And in those quarterly goals, everyone will know what I want you to focus. Make the main thing, right? So yeah, no. Listen, this quarter we have to, hire XYZ amount of people. We have to sign X amount of new client, whatever it is, right?
Yep.
And that's kind of how you're measured. The beauty about sales is that they're the easiest people to measure in an organization. You either hit the number or you don't. Like, so that's what but with sales, I focus more on their process, right? Have a plan, work the plan. Making sure that funnel is always fat. Why? Because deals get delayed. So as an example, yesterday we're working on a deal. I know that deal is actually going to close in 2026.
Yeah.
I got to lay the foundation now.
Yep.
But I start to build that pipeline big enough so that it doesn't dry up, because what I have seen happen is they'll go, and I get it. You get hot and heavy for one deal, but then that funnel starts to dry up, and guess what? That deal doesn't hit, and you're back. It happens. Like we've lost deals that I never thought we'd lose. We won deals I never thought we'd win.
Yep.
But if that funnel is small, then you're starting back from ground zero, and you just can't do that. So you have to have a process. Who are you reaching out to? What trade shows are you going to? What are our channel partners look like? Like all these things. And you just got to, we call it feeding the ducks. Remember Tony Soprano would go in the back, feed the ducks every day. Are you feeding the ducks? So, it's kind of a little goofy thing that we say around the office, but it's so true.
So what is your guys' process? Will you share with us like what your sales process is, or is that like your secret sauce you're not going to?
No, I mean, look, we are more of a direct sales company. So we have a sales force that reports into a sales manager, and then, they report into me. They will have certain verticals to go after. We have specific trade shows that we attend. We also sell a decent amount through sales partners. So Salesforce.com, Zendesk, or just to name a few, right? To put the context around it. But I'm not as crazy about the channel partners because you were dependent on what they sell.
Correct.
So if they match you up with a sales, because so your sales are going to not. So I say, don't hang your hat on that. That should be the gravy on coffee, right? So anyway, so that, and then we have a certain amount of calls they have to make a week, or outbound reach, right? Yep. So email, chat, whatever it is, and touch points. And then so in the past we've had a point system where it's like 1 to 4, 4 being the best, meaning that you signed a contract, right? Yep. But FaceTime. So FaceTime is not only it's one of our KPIs for sales. It's also for our client service team. So that reports into me. How often are we seeing clients? So it's a really stupid thing, but coming out of 21, 22-ish, one of our company goals was how many times are we going to physically see the client? Because everyone's like, I'm on Zilsk.
Is it physical? Does it have to be physical, or do you count FaceTime as a true FaceTime? No, on the phone, it's just gotta be physical.
Because what happened was they cut back on sales, but
call it face to flesh is what we get.
I don't know how many times so many great things happen when you break bread. Yeah. Right. And you get to know them. I know about your family and all this kind of stuff. So we to this day still in the client service department, we track FaceTime, right? So that's them coming because they cut back on their sales budget and they got lazy with Zoom. Yeah, that's the client side. Yeah. We go, okay, I don't give a shit. We're gonna go see the client. Yeah. And we would go see the client, and then we, have them come in, and we would always plan cool stuff. Yep. And coming to Miami, if you have a client in Michigan, in January, is
living the dream.
It's a good hook. But keeping that top of mind, and you're like, wow, with all the AI stuff going on, whatever, that's the goal. No, actually, that's the goal.
Right.
That's the goal. So So those are some of the things without,
Are there any tactics in terms of your reaching out or in terms of your outbound that you prefer over another that perform better in your business?
So for us, I've always found direct sales works the best for our industry. I know that there's a lot of other have different lead gens and stuff like that. For us, we have not been able to crack the code, whether it's social media, email, whatever. We're pretty good at it. Okay, maybe not even okay. But what we are good is relationship management. We spend a lot of time on our salespeople. So that's why when we have a salesperson that doesn't work out, it is really expensive to us because not only did they not hit the number, we spend a lot of time on training and all that kind of stuff. So for us and this business, I have found that direct sales is very important for us. And I've always found that the salespeople that we develop end up being the best versus hiring off the street. We've had very limited success with hiring off the street.
So you hit on talent. Is there any like really positive markers that you look for? Like we've had somebody on the show who said they only hire Division III athletes.
So all right, so yeah, I'll tell you a couple. I've had mixed reviews with athletes. I've had some great ones. I've had some duds. I've actually had terrible experience, not in sales, but like overall with anybody who's like in a top 20 school. Like Ivy League, disaster. They want to run the place day one and they're 23 years old. But what I have found is you can't be two different people. You can't be a stud at work and then your personal life is a disaster. So I've always found that if you sort of live in that path. So people who actually like tend to be on the organized side, who work out regularly, health, like to read, are intellectually curious. Those kinds of people in our organization have always done well. So that's one of the
You're looking for those things.
Yes, so I'm always looking for that mark. The schools and stuff like that, it's all over the board. We got guys who kick ass and don't have a college degree. I would say, the majority of the people in our company, all study in the state of Florida, right? We're a region, they want to come back home. So, for us, just having that discipline that you are living the life that you also reflecting at work, it's great. Every time I've hired somebody that, I'm a stud at the BPO space, but in my life, I've been divorced 3 times. I smoke a pack a day. 50 pounds overweight. That guy's a disaster. Every time. So those are some of the things I look for. It's not a person, are they?
So then obviously, there's a red flag, right? If they're the antithesis of that, if they're disorganized or they're out of shape, or they've got all these other things. Are there any other like major red flags that you're like maybe I don't know, is Harvard a red flag? They graduated top 20 at Harvard. We don't want them.
We don't want to. I mean, look, job hopping, somebody who's cute that bounces around that, leave you, left this job for another 10 grand for this job. There's a lot of that. The salespeople, when I interview them, if they cannot specifically explain to me exactly how they got those sales, I know they're full of shit. Right? Because if you got a big sale, you know exactly. By the way, if you lost a big sale, you know exactly. So it's the same with executives. Like, tell me something. I think it's an Elon Musk question, but it's along the line of like, tell me exactly how you did this. In you had to turn around this company. The guy who did it will tell you exactly how he did it. The guy who was in the background.
Lucky.
Exactly. So those are some of the things. We have a really tight and long hiring process. So hire slow, fire fast. I live by that. Anybody can give you a good 45 minutes. It's like, you got a comic up there, whatever. But Chappelle can give you 2 hours. Why? Because he's the fucking best. That's it. So same thing. Give me a good 45 minutes. All right, now I'm going to take you to lunch. And we do panel interviews. We have different people who focus on different areas. So we do a lot of that stuff. And people go, man, is that the best use of your time? And I go, yeah, actually, it's the best use of my time.
Because it's going to cost you so much.
It's going to cost me so much
if you miss it. Phenomenal stuff.
Yeah, man.
Phenomenal stuff. Thank you very much for joining the show. If people want to connect with you, if they want to know how to get to Danny, they want to hear more about how you hire, they want to learn more about your business, where can they find you?
So LinkedIn, Dan Arriola. I'm pretty active. You guys are my inspiration. You are fantastic. That's how we actually originally got connected. But LinkedIn, Inktel is our company. We're a BPO call center business based here in Miami, but we've been in business for over 25 years. My brother and I run the business. And I'm pretty active on social media. So you can just Google me. And then we have a podcast, which Steve was on, the Happy Customer Channel. And we talk a lot about the same topics. And we have some interesting characters. Question for you.
Okay.
You, your dad, and your brother. Fit guys. Who benches the most?
I do. Not even a question. Not even a question.
I'm gonna ask your dad to see what he says.
And actually, what we'll do if they're willing to accept the challenge.
Yeah.
I've got a bench in my garage.
Plus,
We'll have everybody over and we'll prove it. If they're willing.
all right. What about squats? Because I think your dad
For sure.
he skips leg day.
First of all, he skips leg day and he's like tight now, and you can't hold weight on the back anymore and all that. And my brother doesn't like legs either. Like my brother thinks that his tennis and his pickleball are like leg workout. So it's not even close when it comes to squatting. My dad will probably push me a little bit when it comes to bench,
But his back will give out or something.
but yeah, but like for squats, lower body, I'm deadlifting more, I'm squatting more. Like, but I still enjoy that heavier lift, right? Like I like to go 12, 10, 8, 6.
Okay, so
And then I'm like load the bar up, like let's do it. Let's see what we got here. Yeah, so it's definitely me.
good stuff, man. Thanks for having me on the show.
Thank you for coming. Thank you for finding your edge with us. Remember to like, comment, and share, and put in the comments what's working for you in sales. We'll see you next time.